Dr. Khaled Elsherbini. Elsherbini. I tried. Thank you so much. Dr. Elsherbini is an Enneagram professional and a spiral dynamics integral practitioner. He holds a PhD in engineering, a master's in environmental science, an MBA in technology management, and finishing a Master of Science in psychology. He's an author and teacher of the psycho-spiritual program, Awakening Through Enneagram, Integral Enneagram, and Integral Enneagram Teacher and Trainer, where he combines the Enneagram with the integral model to create tools for psychological and spiritual growth. I think we're in for a very interesting speech. Thank you so much. Over to you.
So, this is an amazing moment, it really is. And I want to start it with some gratitude, because I'm going to talk about stages of the heart anyway, and the heart is the source of this gratitude. So first of all, of course, I have to start the main gratitude to Bence for this amazing work he's doing. I've been attending the IEC for a few years online, and I'm one of the proponents of online. I give all my courses online, and I tell everyone, shift online. But this cannot be done online. I feel the difference here. And I also just came from another in-person conference. I arrived this morning. I was in Stockholm, and also the energy there was magnificent. And maybe I can start to say, okay, a little bit online and a little bit in person. So thank you, Bence. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for this magnificent energy. And I will tell you thank you why also in a little while, because you facilitated so many other things. Bence's amazing mother is here in the audience. I don't know if she's still here or not, but I want to say thank you to her, because she's the source. And I said that to her in person, and I have to say that. And this is something actually I learned from, incredibly, the Ukrainian culture. My beautiful, amazing wife, who's the source of all my support and all my energy, Natasha, she's from Ukraine. And I remember when I went to Ukraine and got to know her and got to know her lovely family, and then her birthday came, and I was instructed by the Ukrainians that when it's the birthday of someone, we greet the mother. That was a new learning to me, and it was magnificent. Gratitude. I learned gratitude from that. So I say thank you to your amazing mother. In my teachings, I'm known from my students, it irritates them a bit, that my teachings are always progressing, developing. I just had a student complaining. She's saying, this is the 7th time I attend this course. It's not the same course. Stop changing the course. And as an R&D professional in my previous life, as I call it, we used to differentiate between incremental change and radical change. Incremental, which is what's happening all the time, that there's always additions and changes, and you take out a slide and you add an idea. And there are radical changes when you really review your whole strategy. You review what you're doing and you change it from the roots. And one of the main radical changes in the programs that I teach today, which are very extensive, came actually at the hands of a session I saw at IEC a few years ago, which led me to a few books, which led me to review my entire teachings on the Enneagram perspective. And I think actually it created a new understanding of the psychological and emotional background of the Enneagram types. And that session and these books were by the amazing Vivian Dittmar. So I want to give her a lot of gratitude, because I must say that my understanding of the Enneagram and my teaching of the Enneagram went at least a level deeper after knowing your work. And today, I have several years in my academy. It's a 3-year academy. The first year is 180 hours. The first 5 hours are based on your work, and we keep reviewing them all the time. So the first thing any student who comes to me learns is the basis of your work. So thank you very much for that. And of course, yes, please, please. The hearts. Now, it's an amazing opportunity, thank you, Ben, so that I can give a keynote and then I can give a full session, which allows me to give in this keynote, I will give like a summary of the integral Enneagram map that I have created. And then in the session, I will focus on the hearts themselves, but I will give just a flavor of them in this keynote. So originally, my background was very, very different place. I have a PhD in mechanical and aerospace engineering. I've worked in so many disciplines, in so many places. I was an aerospace scientist for a while, one of the founders of the Egyptian Space Agency, and under Ukrainian scientists, we made technology transfer of space sciences into Egypt. So that was my area. I excelled in research and development. I was an R&D director building R&D departments around Egypt. That was unique at the time. And I reached so many places, but I say, I satisfied and I fulfilled everything that we are told today are the sources of happiness. But it only brought emptiness. It only created a larger and larger hole inside. And I was always, I like to say, like, there was always this voice that tells me, look here. And I would look, and I would be amazed. Wow, this is magnificent. But I don't have time now. I'm busy here. And I would go on for another 5 years, 10 years, and then I come and look. And I never knew what this voice was. I called it so many things, depending on the stages of my life. At one time it came as a child in the area of religion, and then in the area of philosophy, and then the area of metaphysics. And it was always something there, awareness. I didn't know what it is. Until around 10 years ago, or a little bit more, the hole became too big. And I think the reason was that I felt I've done everything that we are taught to do. What next? And I had to stop. And overnight, I just pushed all that away. I dropped my professorhood at the universities. I left the companies I was working in and all the obligations I had at that moment, as if didn't make any sense. It's okay, it's not going to go anywhere. I need some time for myself. And it wasn't easy. It came after years of suffering. I call it, I actually was standing on the edge of a cliff. And everything is telling me, jump. Just jump. Jump where? I don't see anything. Just jump. And I took the jump. It was like a leap of faith into the unknown. And a huge transformation happened after that. It's at that time that I discovered the Enneagram. And I remember the first day I heard the Enneagram, I said, what is that? There is something here. I went even to the teacher who was like introducing it in 4 hours. And I told him, this is something. I don't think you know what it is. You don't know its power. You don't know its secret. I'm going to spend some time with it. He was a good friend, so I could joke with him, actually. So you have no idea what you're talking about. And I went in and I spent a huge amount with it. Gave it my heart. During that time, I discovered the integral theory and Wilber's work. And again, in the mentioning gratitude, Wilber is one of the people that has changed my life, definitely. Because again, all the aha moments that came while you're reading Wilber. Oh my God, amazing. And after I delved for a while into the Enneagram, into the spiral dynamics, the integral model, and as we will know when we discuss the Enneagram as a typical type 5, and I think this is a gift I've been given in front of all the weaknesses that a 5 has. The gift is that we can look at models and suddenly things make sense. And I saw a connection that can give all these models a deeper meaning and a deeper life, a deeper sense of connection that makes sense to humans. It's been evolving, as I say, and it's still evolving, and I think it will continue to evolve, but I call it the Integral Enneagram Framework. And I present it in a 3-dimensional model, just to supposedly make it easier. Some people have told me it doesn't make it easier, but anyway, for those who does make it easier for. And on the horizontal plane, we have the Enneagram. Now, the Enneagram is not really a horizontal topology. It's very different than all the other topologies. Most topologies act on the personality or mask or the way we present ourselves to the world. But the Enneagram can act on whatever level of depth you will work on with it. You're working on personality, it will give you the personality in a magnificent way. You're working on psychological pathologies, it will show you the pathologies. You're working on drives, it will show you the drives. You're working on psyche, it will give you the psyche. And where I went with the Enneagram even is I connected it to some ancient traditions. My heritage is the Islamic and Sufi tradition, so I connected it to the Islamic tradition, to the Sufi tradition, to the names of Allah, the names of God, the attributes of the divine. And I started presenting this, I would say, or at least that's my attempt, in a modern language. My attempt is to make those mystic languages applicable to the modern seeker. Now again, it's an attempt. It's, let's say, a first trial. And I always tell my students, Helen today was trying to quote me, which is what I say, that your task as students is to go beyond me, not to remain stuck under me, to take these attempts, adjust them, and go beyond, because these mystical sciences are endless. And let's call them today awakening sciences. It's more comfortable to us. We have to be careful of the words. So these awakening sciences are very important. So we have the Enneagram on the horizontal plane. Is this the time, Benza? Is that all I have left? Well, I guess I'll sneak another 10 minutes or something. 3 minutes, okay. And and then on the vertical plane, we have actually 2 planes, so you can consider them both vertical because 3-dimensional. We have the structure stages, the spiral dynamics, the stages of development, the cognitive stages as described by Wilber and so many other people. And on the third arm, we have the state stages, or the states and the stages. The Sufis call them al-maqamat wal-ahwal. Ahwal, hal is a state which is fleeting. One moment I'm in bliss, one moment I'm angry, one moment I'm in heaven, one moment I'm in hell. These are states, but the state stages are the stages. This is maqam, this is your house, this is where most of your experiences are around. And by connecting these 3, I created this model. I got 3 planes out of this. One plane is what I call the stages of the mind. And for those of you who attended last year's session, it was dedicated to the stages of the mind. The Enneagram types growing up. And now it's a comprehensive model where I describe the structure stages in my own way, in my own language. I don't totally stick to Spiral or to Wilber, or I describe them in the way I understand them, that's relevant to my understanding, and how the Enneagram types grow upon them. And then what we'll be talking about in this conference is the stages of the heart. How the human heart in general grows. What does it pass through? And I'll describe that in a minute. And then I personalize it to the 9 types. It's as if I'm personalizing it to every person. And then even go to the instincts and how the instincts affect our waking up process. And interestingly, when I did this model, a third plane, which was not intended, showed up, which today I call it Elsherbini lattice. Of course, I give... Why not? Why not? And I think I'll leave that to next year because it's a bit complex, but it was actually a huge aha realization about the connection between the mind and the heart and this waking up and growing up process and what connects them together. So let's take a very brief look into the hearts for those who are only attending the keynote. But then when you come to my session in a while, I will talk in depth about each of the stages and I will give an example from one of the types. And to mention gratitude. Every time I give a session, I choose one type to demonstrate on how it goes, and I usually like to dedicate that type to someone. For those who have been following me the last 2 years, both my parents died in 2020, so I was always dedicating my sessions to my father and my mother, who were both heart types. And this year I decided to go to the head types. And then something beautiful happened after my session last year. I finished the session, and then I got a very delicate, very kind message from someone I didn't know at all, never heard of before. And it was very kind how much he liked my session and how much, it was just thanking me for the session, not more than that, and how much he found it nice. But it touched me. And over this year, we got to become closer and become friends, and I admire his work very much. And he is one of the speakers actually in IEC, Nishad Kote. So, and he goes with different names. So I'm sorry, Nishad, if I got your name wrong, but I dedicate this year to Nishad, and I will be talking about type 5 and the growth of type 5 through the hearts. So what is the journey of the hearts in these few minutes? The journey of the hearts, the journey of waking up, is the journey of realizing our true connection to one and everything. And I will give it in these few minutes in a metaphor, in a story. But these metaphors are the patterns that keep repeating in our lives that we have to be aware of. Let's look at the story of a little baby. And that baby can be a human baby. It can be a baby creation, a universe. They both, by the way, start out of nothing, a big bang. And then suddenly, they start to expand. But that little baby, when it first comes into being out of nothing, it doesn't have an eye. That little infant or little baby or inside the womb is unified with one and all. There is no separation. That baby is in paradise, the Garden of Eden. And in that state, the connection to the divine is the mother. Have you seen a baby in the hands of a mother? Who's God to that baby? Who's the one that gives it life, brings it into the world? Who does that baby know to ask and and get the response from? That mother is God, is the universe, is everything to that baby. And out of this separation from God, from the universe, from the one, from the Garden of Eden, comes the fall, comes the separation, and starts the pain. And during the initial, I call this the journey. So we start in a state of unconscious essence. We are undifferentiated, unindividuated. We have no agency and no autonomy. We have no say in anything. We are just unified. And through our journey of childhood, which is an involuntary journey, we have no choice in it. We never chose our parents, we didn't choose our situation, our sex, our height, our color. We didn't choose anything. Our traumas, no one chose their own traumas. Our Enneagram type, our instincts, nothing. I call this all the situation preparing you for your mission in this system. But the problem is, during this period, which is an essential period, we cannot be without it because we build the skills that we need for our mission on earth. During this period, we are building a personality. We're building an ego. An ego has become blamed for so much stuff these days, but we need it. Wilbur, I remember in one of his lovely sayings, he says, you have to be someone before becoming no one. You cannot just become no one, then you're no one. You have to have an ego to transcend your ego. So building a healthy personality and a full identification with an ego, with a sense of self, is essential in this period. But it happens involuntary. And we come out of it with an ego that is contracted, that is confined, that feels differentiated, individuated. But we think we have agency and autonomy, and that's the whole trick. This thinking that we have agency and autonomy is what makes us go after solving our problems. Because only we can do it. And it's in trying to change the world, to solve our problems, to ease our suffering, to take away our pain. It's in doing that that we serve the world. Each from what resources they have been given. If I talk from an Enneagram perspective, the 8 starts to lead, the 5 starts to analyze, the 4 starts to feel, the 3 starts to achieve, the 2 starts to serve. But we're doing it from a place of pain because we are fully identified with the pain inside and with a separate me. David was just talking about attachment and the attachment theory. And we talk in the Enneagram about object relations, which is related to what he said, that we realize ourselves in our relations to the others. But the others, when we're in this state, are objects. Objects we navigate to maintain our ego, to maintain our self, and to maintain our separation from the world. But then comes the second part of the journey. So this is a journey of constriction. The second part of our life is where our job really starts. And unfortunately, most of humanity remains stuck here. And that's why this is what I call the starting point. I call this heart the striving heart. It's striving and trying harder and harder, and the harder it tries, the more it suffers. But with sincere inner work, with sincere psycho-spiritual work, it starts to disidentify from this separate self and starts to reconnect. This interconnectedness with what is around starts to happen. And that happens in phases of re-identification from it's me against the world to from I am in the world to I am of the world to I am the world, to a state of ineffability. What does that mean? From it's me against the world, I am here, and everything else I have to use, I have to abuse. Where do all these wars happen from? This abuse of the environment, where is it coming from? All the disasters that we're doing, where do they come from? It's because I am in a world. So I can do to it whatever I want, as long as it takes care of me. To I am of a world. I am in one big body, and everything I do affects you, and everything you do affects me. That's a different heart. To I am the world. We are one. There is no me and you. There is no disconnection. There is a sense of cells of a body, all sacrificing for the collective oneness. So unfortunately, I have to stop now, but we will continue in my session to define these hearts, the 7 hearts, in detail, and then follow the path of type 5 along these hearts. Thank you.